Welcome back. 3 months after launching a strike on a suspected drug smuggling boat near Venezuela, the Trump administration is facing a wrongful death lawsuit. The families of 2 men killed in those strikes are arguing the deaths were, quote, manifestly unlawful.
The White House said the October strike killed all 6 men on board and accused them of trafficking narcotics. The new lawsuit says 2 of those men did fishing and farm work in Venezuela and were returning home to Trinidad when they were attacked.
So let's bring in our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes. And Khalif, this is a lawsuit that's the first of its kind. And I know that there have been calls for investigations into all of these strikes, but we're already seeing a lawsuit out of this. So what do you make of this newest suit?
I mean, you guys aren't picking easy topics this morning. This one is a complex topic. I mean, you're talking about tort, like I've mentioned a number of times, duty, breach, causation, and damage, right? This is something that they're saying wrongful death. So what type of duty did you owe to these individuals here? And it's brought in admiralty court, which is something uniquely different than most types of claims, but it's brought in the United States, district court in District of Massachusetts. It was brought by ACLU on behalf of the families, and it's a number of things. They're first arguing that there's no lawful war, so these killings were not lawful. There's no legitimate recognized armed conflict with drug cartels. The president can't just create a war and simply by declaring that cartels are terrorists, and Congress never authorized force against drug traffickers. That's basically the crux of their argument. They're also saying these folks were civilians. They posed no threat. They were fishing. No lethal force was not necessary. So they go through a number of things, but they end with saying that the United States conduct was deliberate, willful, intentional, wanton, malicious, oppressive, and conscious disregard for the rights guaranteed by customary international law and should be punished by a award of punitive damage in any amount determined by trial. So they are obviously asking for a monetary gain, but that language against the United States government, not a direct official, but saying we're just going to sue the government. This is going to be, as you mentioned, unique and not first of its kind, but definitely a harder approach. And they list a number of statutes that support it: Suits and Admiralty Act, Death at High Seas Act, and Alien Tort Statute. So the case law supports this type of claim being brought.
Do you see the U.S. government challenging this or just kind of settling so that it just doesn't become higher in our news hierarchy and let's just let this go away? Or what do you think?
I don't believe the settlement's on the horizon. I mean, the first argument would be that we have sovereign immunity. That would be their argument, and that's why these folks go to the Suits and Admiralty Act, which would be a way around sovereign immunity. But then even if that doesn't work, the president will say that an armed conflict exists, that there are drug cartel folks that are going against us, 22 secret cartels that we have a list of individuals in agencies that we know that we're attempting to attack. And because of that, this is an armed conflict that I am able to treat it as an armed conflict. That's going to be the crux of the argument for the Trump administration, even if they're able to get around sovereign immunity.
Okay, so say we get to the fact that it was an armed conflict, right? How do they prove that their family members, it's not talking about all of the members there, the family members that are involved in the suit, how do they say that my family members were civilians? They weren't doing anything with narco-terrorism. How do they prove that? And if they do prove that, could we see some things where the government says, well, this is classified information, we can't share it? Could we learn possibly what evidence the Trump administration has on these narco-drug boats?
I think a lot of us won't learn much of that. I mean, you mentioned it, that in the course of this case, there will be discovery that will be given. It's required in any type of case, but there will be a national security risk coverage of what they can disclose or what they can't disclose. And so I would assume that a number of these things will be under seal, and anything else that is released would be redacted. And so if you're talking about how they gathered information about the people that were on the boats, I would ultimately suspect that would never be released to the public. It may go through the court under some type of seal, but never to us, because then that would let us know how their process works with finding out individuals that are engaged in drug cartel activity.
Is there any other avenue for families of those men who were killed?
I mean, this is the direct avenue. This is the best avenue to go. I mean, if you believe that there was a breach of the duty and they violated a number of laws, specifically international laws, then this is the way that you would bring a claim here. That sovereign immunity, I think, is the highest burden to get over. If they can get over that other argument of armed conflict, I think that this is going to tip that one over in their favor. Just getting over sovereign immunity will be extremely hard.
All right, Khalif Rhodes, appreciate that. Got another topic with Khalif coming up next hour.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.